I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, okay, you know where Canada is, in British Columbia on the West Coast, right? Right. And there is a big city like Vancouver. Where are you, John? Me. And I say, we are 500 miles north of Vancouver, or for our European friends, 800 kilometers. And so that's in the center of British Columbia, north to south, east to west. Today we have an amazing podcast with a lady's name is Tina Coleman, and Tina is very, very interesting. Her mission is to empower women approaching 50 and beyond, and obviously I somewhat fit in that category for men. I'm turning 85 in the next month and a half. I say 85 years young, and that's an important one in this discussion. Beyond the embrace, the reinvention, freedom, and unapologetic confidence while stepping into the most vibrant, authentic chapter of their lives, which I agree with. After more than 2 decades as a licensed massage therapist, Tina's career was abruptly cut short by a car accident. Instead of letting life hardship define her, she chose to reinvent herself from the ground up. That reinvention began with traveling solo and experienced the openness of her eyes and possibly freedom and courage. She traveled to become a catalyst to the ultimate, led her to move abroad, where she continues to embrace transformation and intentional living. Tina, an amazing, amazing, amazing podcast. So take us back to where are you from initially?
Originally, I am from Des Moines, Iowa, which is the very center of the United States.
Right. And so you were born there, and then how did you go forward from there, your schooling, and then, as you stated in your bio, you spent more than 20 years as a massage therapist and as a specialty, and then something happened, you got into a car accident. What happened?
Okay, so I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever been to Des Moines, Iowa, but it doesn't have great weather. It's really hot and humid in the summer. It's really, really cold, lots of snow in the winter, which you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very quiet place, great to raise kids. It's the heart of the United States. I'm a Midwesterner, but it's just like, even as a kid, I felt this pull to move. Like, we grew up in the same house, we had that stability. And I went to the same middle school my mother did.
Okay.
But I always felt like I wanted to move. Like, why couldn't we move? Why couldn't we do something else? So for me, I've always had this desire to move and to travel. It's interesting because I started traveling when I became a spiritual teacher with a not-for-profit organization. And that's when I moved from Des Moines, Iowa. And I was about 27, 28. So I was in what they call the Saturn return. And I moved to Columbia, Missouri. It was the first time I'd been moved out of Iowa. And I'd only been out of Iowa, go down to Kansas City or maybe to Omaha. I've never really been out of Iowa. So going down to Missouri was like, oh my goodness, I'm in Missouri, which Missouri is a great town. They have 3 universities. It's a college town. It's absolutely, it's a really great little town. So that's actually where I was teaching metaphysics, which is the study of the mind. So I was teaching people concentration, visualization, meditation. And then I was with the group for 7 years. So I went into a lot more esoteric work. But a month after I moved to Columbia, Missouri, I had just bought this really cute little Eclipse car, which I absolutely love. And I was going from Columbia, Missouri to Kansas City, Missouri for a class. And I was hit by a semi on the interstate. And I was really, really fortunate that I actually survived it with pretty minimal injuries, like neck and back issues. Nothing was broken, nothing was bleeding.
Oof.
I was super, super lucky. But that was actually how I started thinking, understanding the idea of becoming a massage therapist. Because I have an amazing chiropractor that also did acupuncture and massage, and those were parts of my treatment.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where it's like walk on my back or rub my shoulders, but I never thought of that as a cure. So ironically, my first car accident got me into massage. My last one got me out of massage.
Right.
So yeah.
So you did that
So,
for 20 years?
yes.
And
And I was
go ahead.
I worked in 5 different states, being a spiritual teacher. They kind of moved us around a lot, so I had the opportunity to work and live in different states.
So spiritual teacher, what does that mean other than the obvious?
Yeah, I was with a not-for-profit group, and we taught metaphysics, which is the study of the mind.
Okay.
So visualization, concentration, meditation, candidly healing. And then I also studied more of the esoteric works as well. I was with them for 7 years.
Wow. And so then in this whole process, what you then decided to do at some point, going through all the challenges along the way, I presume, you decided then to go solo traveling around the world.
Yes, that was much, much later, actually.
Okay. So take us back to the car accident in the 7 years. What happened then between that and when you decided to travel?
A lot. I was with a not-for-profit organization, and as I said, we moved around. They moved me around quite a bit. So I left Des Moines, Iowa, went to Columbia, Missouri, and then I did 14 months at the College of Metaphysics. So it was an organic park. So I got to herd the cows, milk the cows, plant the gardens.
Amazing.
It was a lot of work, but you're around spiritual people where you're constantly learning and growing. So there were 20 of us that lived there full time, and then on student weekends we would have like 100 people come, and we would do projects like painting buildings, moving logs, baling hay, and doing dishes for 100 and some people by hand. So we always try to make things really fun, and I learned a lot from that experience and met some amazing people. And that was my life. Like I thought I was going to be with them forever.
Yeah.
And when I left the college at the end of my term, I went and directed the school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that's actually where I got into massage. That's actually because I could not find a job that would accommodate me directing the school and traveling back and forth for classes to Winterville, Missouri, like every week. And I had specific hours I needed to work. And so I was like looking for a job, and I could not find something that actually would fit the schedule. And there was this little hippie metaphysical shop that sold crystals on the corner from the school. And I was walking by it one day, and I had gone in and chatted with them. So they kind of knew me, and they were like, "What's going on? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I can't find a job. Like, I need to get a job. I just came from college, my internship, and I need to work." And they're like, "Oh, wow, I actually hire massage therapists. You want to come on in?" And that was back in the time in Tulsa where you could apprentice, which I think apprenticing, they need to bring that back because that is an amazing way to learn. But as I was filling out the application, the owner who had had the shop for like 20, 30 years actually came out. He took one look at my hands. He's like, "Oh, you've got big hands. You're hired." Yeah, I know. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be offended by that as a woman or if I should appreciate that. But yeah, I'm part Swedish, so I do have like really big hands and shoulders. So yeah. But that's actually how I got into massage. I love doing it. I love helping people. I'm a Virgo, so service oriented. And I was there the entire time I was in Tulsa, and I learned so much. And from that point, I was directing the school, and then I actually went to Lexington, Kentucky. They're like, hey, we want to open a school in Lexington. We have a school in Louisville, Missouri, and we have demand in Lexington. And this is all not for profit. Like, we're not paid. I was not paid as a teacher or director or anything. And so I'm like, yeah. I went to Lexington and opened a school there. In 2005, 2006, I was in Chicago, and that's when I decided to leave and go back into the real world and become a lay person. And it was scary but liberating, because I had been, when you're with an organization and you're living there and those are the only people you're around, you're kind of secluded from normal everyday life.
Sure.
It's a very different type of reality. So when I decided to leave the school in Chicago, I had actually went back to school for massage, because the licensing laws are different in the state.
Okay.
So I had to pay $14,000 to go and learn something I already knew how to do.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I'd been doing massage for 5 years at that point. And they're like, do you want to do it in Chicago? And they had just changed the laws. And I'm not kidding. They had just changed the laws in a month.
What? So that surprises me that, I don't know how it's in Canada, but, that massage therapy is very common, and I'm into bodybuilding and doing other things. So, and from time to time, being exposed to being issues that massage is very healing, physically and mentally as well. And very important. So it is done a lot. So I'm not sure what the rules are here, but I'm kind of surprised that after you had the experience for 5 years, you go to a different state and you had to reapply again or do it again to become certified, if you wish.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Licensed. Yeah.
Licensed. Okay.
And fortunately, it's very common today, especially in the States. Every state has their own set of regulations and rulings. And Canada is probably the same way. And these days, you do need an extensive education. Whereas I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now, and there aren't any requirements. So it really depends on what part of the world you're in as to what they require.
Right.
So I actually got into Thai massage when I was in Chicago, and I loved doing that. And I actually went to California to study it for a little bit as well. And I ended up moving down to Dallas, Texas in 2010. Yeah, 2010. I moved down to, for some reason, like from when I was directing the school in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dallas just had this pull on me. And I'm like, I went down a couple times. I didn't really like it, but I was like, there must be a reason. There must be a reason. I don't think there really was. I didn't really like Dallas, but I did buy a house down there, and about a year after I bought my house in 2011, and the next year is when I lost my stepfather and my mother within 6 years or 6 months of each other.
Ooh.
And that, it was my 40th birthday, and that's what really had a devastating effect on me. Like, I spiraled down. It was not pretty. I spiraled down pretty hard, and I actually was drinking very heavily. I just didn't care about things. Yeah, when you go through that, and they were both very unexpected. They were aneurysms, both of them, and so there was just like, boom. One day everything's fine. The next day it's not.
Ooh. And
yeah, it was very, very sudden.
But coincidental for both of them, the same and unexpected. So that, and you were still relatively young at the time. I presume you said around your 40th birthday in that general area. So to have that happen to you one after the other must have been devastating.
It was. And unfortunately, I wasn't close with either of them at that time. And because you always think you have more time. You always think, oh, my mother had she'd had multiple surgeries, and she had just had, I think, a hip surgery or a knee surgery. And it's like my grandmother was very healthy and very vibrant, and she was in her 80s. So you kind of think your parents are going to live a very long time. And my mother was 58 when she passed.
58?
And that 58.
Wow.
And that it was devastating. And I was very surprised by that because we weren't very close. Even though I'm a lot like her, I look like her, I talk like her, I have some of her mannerisms. Um, we weren't very close because growing up, she was working 2 and 3 jobs. So we never really had a very close relationship.
No, which is not uncommon necessarily, right? So during certain periods in life, Okay, take us further.
So, okay, so I got sober in 2018. And in 2017,
How
actually,
did you you were drinking too much, you became reliant on alcohol in some form. Usually there is a trigger. I've been there at some points. What basically happened to me is that, the lady that's now my wife for the last 42 years, we were still dating at the time. And I was, during the period, drinking too much. I was smoking, trying to quit smoking, but I was smoking a little pipe, not good for me. And then I was on Xanax, prescribed. And so it hit me with a 2x4. And so she dumped me. And I was devastated. And I was in love with her. And so still am. And then, within a week, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, and I stopped Xanax. And you know what was the most difficult one to stop?
Right.
Xanax. And so, although it was prescribed, it was not, so in any event, so what I'm saying, suggesting or asking probably, is saying something must have happened to you that made you stop drinking. Is it?
Well, actually, I was using alcohol to self-medicate, which is very common. And I had this realization, like I knew in the beginning of 2018 that I needed to stop or something bad was going up. And that was the year I actually started going to some spiritual seminars, and it really changed my life. But I actually had to go to a 12-step program to stop. Like I had tried everything to stop. I couldn't stop. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, like I had the desire to stop. I was trying to stop on my own. Nothing was working. And my last bender, I was just like, this happened. I can't keep doing this. And so I reached out to somebody I'd met at a seminar that had been in a program. And he's like, you need to go to meeting. And ironically, I did not know when you go to meetings that you have to stop entirely.
Yeah.
It was October 30th of 2018. I went to my first meeting, and I thought they were going to teach me how to drink better or cut down, or I didn't know you had to stop. And I was like, wait a minute, Halloween's coming up, then we have Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas and New Year's. Like, don't I get a hall pass? Like, what's going on here? I'm like, what do you mean I have to stop completely? And, you would think you would know this and understand this, but I was completely surprised. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And so it was the hardest. Oh my gosh, the first few months. And that first year was the hardest year of my life. And I had so many business events I had to go to because my career as a massage therapist had ended by then, and I was doing insurance sales. And I was around so much free alcohol and so many parties and events. I was like, it was never free when I was drinking, and now it's free. So it was really, really challenging. But I was just like, are you kidding me? I was so angry. I was like, but for me, I knew that I needed to change, and it was very important to me to be the kind of person that could keep my word and do what I say I'm going to do. And so I knew that drinking again was not if I started drinking again, I could end up dying. Um, so I was really important to me to stay the course, and it was extremely difficult. Um, in 2017, we lost my grandmother very suddenly also. And when I went to her funeral, I was drinking at the time, and my family was like, "We thought you were going to be next because you were gray. You were literally gray when you went." So it was just, it was one of those things I needed to do. Because when I first started traveling internationally, I was still drinking. It was a miracle I made my flights for my first international trip. And I was drinking in it all over Italy. So it was really an amazing thing, that actually I was able to stop and that I was actually traveling before that. But traveling is what really lights me up.
So now you're traveling, and so what, so you stopped really, and after the funeral of your mom, and so you started traveling. You were still alcohol was still a challenge for you, and so you started traveling around the world. So what did you do to support you to do that? Are you still working in some form, or so tell us about that? And did you travel all around Europe and then came back, or tell us about it?
No, not exactly. And just to clarify, I lost my parents right before my 40th. And right before my 45th birthday, I found this journal that I'd written like in my 20s saying how I wanted to go to Greece and Italy and Egypt. And I'd been wanting to go since I was in sixth grade and heard about the pyramids.
Right.
And I just had this realization, my mother died very suddenly at the age of 8. I had this realization that if I didn't start doing it, like when was I going to do it? When was I going to start traveling? Because we all have so many excuses to not do the things that we love and that we want to do.
Yeah.
Life happens. Life gets busy. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money. Like,
All
there's
of
just
that.
not enough. Because we
Right.
have all these limitations and
Yeah.
excuses.
Yeah.
And when I found that journal, I was like, I don't do it now when I'm going to do it. And I definitely didn't have the money to do it, the resources to do it. I was a massage therapist, so if I didn't work, I didn't get paid.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just try and figure this out. So I started Googling flights from Dallas, Texas to Rome because I really wanted to go to Italy. And I realized it was cheaper to fly into New York and then fly into Barcelona and then fly over to Rome. And so that's what I did. Ironically, my car accident that ended my massage career happened exactly a week before my trip. And I was really not, I didn't know if I would make the trip
Yeah.
because I was rear-ended by an 89-year-old lady at a stoplight. So she hit me from behind and she was going into assisted living the next week. And I was just like, what are the chances? What are the odds of that happening?
Yeah.
And so I had 3 bulging discs in my neck, which we didn't know about. I was having headaches. I had a triple concussion. I was not in great shape, and I was in a lot of and that happened on the Saturday. That Thursday, I was like, okay, I think I can go. Like some of the symptoms had subsided a little bit. It was still very challenging. But my flight was leaving on Saturday. And I was like, I'm going. Like I've never been to Italy. I booked everything non-refundable. Like I'm going. Um, I'm doing this because Italy had been my dream for so long.
Yeah.
And because I was a massage therapist, I did make sure I had chiropractic care and physiotherapy care and massage throughout that. So
Yeah.
I actually booked the trip for 3 weeks because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to go to Italy again. This is my dream. I spent a couple days in New York, went to Spain and Italy. I'm just like, I'm going to go. And I'll figure out the finances and everything when I get back. Because I just felt called to do it. And as massage therapists, like your clients are kind of cyclical. And so it worked out really great. Like I had clients waiting for me when I came back. But that first trip was Barcelona. And I did not have the money to do the trip, really. So I was couch surfing I couch surfed in Spain and then also in Barcelona and then also in Italy, which Italy was not such a great experience to be couch surfing. And then I also stayed in the hostels. And I
Wow.
had the absolutely best time. I really did. And Rome is still one of my favorite places. I was in Bologna, Rome, Cicatata, uh, and Florence
Yeah.
for that first trip. It was absolutely amazing. And I've been to Italy now a total of 3 times. I was just there last year for a month and a half,
Oh my God.
and in Spain for a month also last year.
Yeah, the interesting
Yeah.
part about it is that I've done a lot of traveling and I've been in Barcelona and Spain, and I don't speak Spanish, and nor do I speak Italian, obviously. I was born in Holland, actually, in 1940, and so I speak Dutch and know some German and a little bit of French, but not much, and but mainly English, and a lot of those places speak or understand English, and so that allows you, but to be interactive. But places like Spain, it's absolutely beautiful. The same as Italy, and so now you're in your mid 40s or latter part of 40s, and now where do you go from there? And you go back to the United States, you're still doing some traveling, as you indicated a year and a half ago, you went back to Italy. You're still doing massage therapy, I presume, or are you in insurance or both, or what are you doing now?
Well, what ended up happening is I was still doing massage about a year and a half after my accident, but I had headaches from it every day because of the bulging disc in my neck. And I had doctors that weren't very good and really weren't sure what was wrong with me. Because they were like, oh, the accident wasn't that bad. It shouldn't be affecting you. But because my car did not take the brunt of the hit, my body did. And so that's why the accident, even though I didn't look bad, it ended my career. So I was doing massage for a year and a half after. I tried doing insurance sales. I did some stock consulting, and then my last job before I moved abroad was funeral sales.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Yeah, I was doing funeral sales during COVID. Yeah.
My goodness, you're innovative.
Well, yeah, I am. I'm definitely very resilient and determined. But I thought I grew up, hearing about life insurance. My mom had life insurance and
Yeah.
funeral planning. As a kid, we didn't take vacations. We never took a vacation, but my mother would take us to funerals all
Yeah.
over the U.S. for distant relatives, and then she would line us up in front of the coffin and take pictures of us kids.
Oh,
So I was very familiar with funerals.
yeah.
Um, love helping people, and I thought, oh, well, and this was before COVID actually happened, because right before COVID and the lockdowns happened, I actually had a voucher for a trip that I needed to take. So I went to Aruba for a week in February 2020. I went to Aruba. I was just like, I don't know where Aruba is, but I wanted to go. I knew nothing about it and just booked the trip and went for a week. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
I not just
Aruba
a lot
is
of
in off the coast of South America, and Aruba, Curacao, and and Bonaire are the ABC islands. They are still were part of Holland at one point. Maybe still are. I'm not sure. You know.
actually, it's interesting because when you're there, the radio's in Dutch, the street signs are in Dutch,
Yeah.
but all the grocery stores are Asian. So they all have the Asian names. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But Aruba is an amazing place. But yeah, so, and I know during COVID, everybody else was locked down, not working from their homes. I was not. I was so busy, like trying to start a new career and seeing people, but not a lot of success or luck. Uh, so when we also had the riots in America in 2020, Black Lives Matter riots, and for some reason, that just kind of hit home with me. Like things were changing and I wasn't super comfortable with them. I like to take birthday trips. So I needed to use up some airline miles for my birthday in September. So I was kind of like, I'm gonna go to San Diego for 10 days. And then I actually looked at the map. I'm very geographically challenged. I'm directionally challenged, and I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not much. Like, it's amazing I travel, trust me.
Yeah.
But I looked at the map and I'm like, oh, San Diego's really close to Mexico. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Mexico too.
Yeah.
Because I had actually started coming down to Mexico for dental work.
Yeah.
Because it's much cheaper in the States. So every time I would come down to Mexico, I just loved it. Like, and I never wanted to go back. And so somehow in my mind, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna move to Mexico. So I took a birthday trip where I'm using up airline miles for 10 days into this, like, I'm moving to Mexico. So I ended up turning that trip into 2.5 month trip going around Mexico solo and checking everything out. And I also found out when you do that, your employer doesn't sound to like that. So I didn't have to go back to work after that. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. But Mexico was amazing. Have you been to Mexico?
Yes, I have. Yeah, in different places of it. I like it, and I love San Diego. And my businesses, we do a lot of business in Texas and Dallas. Dallas is a big city, huge city actually, and it's very hot. So now you are approaching 50s and midlife, and as you look at midlife in particular, and with all the things that you've done and all the challenges along the way, and people that are listening to you, females in particular, but not exclusively, all the challenges you had from the beginning in family life, and then obviously losing your family, and then challenges in universities, drinking as being in a period of your life, and then, but I see you, you like doing things solo a lot, and traveling in particular, and so as young people, or middle life in particular, that's and I qualify to that category, although I'm a little bit past midlife, but I want to be 120, and so but I'm saying, but do you suggest to people like us and you in particular, and other females maybe in particular, what are the keys to life to always remember, other than the obvious thing? For me, it has always been, who am I? Was for me always a challenge that along the way, even in Holland and then here in Canada, and then pursuing dreams that I had. I always wanted to build a lumber mill here, and I wanted to start with nothing. And so for me, coming from Holland in particular, where most people don't leave the general area where they were born. If they go 20 kilometers away, they say, oh my God, Peter moved all the way to there and we'll never see him again. It's only 20 kilometers away. And then going to the other side of the world, that is even more dramatic, like so, and then starting all over again. But along the way, and the challenges that we all encounter, so to me have always been interesting, and I share them with a lot of people in my podcast, but I'm also an author, and so are you, in showing you some of my books that I did. People said to me, hey, John, you've done so many things in your life, you should write a book about it. And I say, writing a book is not easy. And so for 20 years, I started to write a book and I already was during the time. And then finally, when I was in my mid-70s, I said, if I don't do it now, it will never happen. So I started doing it now. And I wrote the first book was Against All Odds. And so that is not so much how successful John is, but just the opposite, all the challenges along the way. And so it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it, 2.5 years to write it. Now, and so, but I didn't know anything about the books because it then becomes, is it hard copy? Is it, what kind of font is it? What should be the title is very, very important. And then I'm going to show you some other ones, and I know you are a writer as well, and we will do that as well. My fifth book is another one. Communication skills are critically important. You are a good communicator. I believe you are, and I know this is one of your first podcasts that you be, but you're doing very well. You're a very, very good communicator, and that is critically important as you go forward. So I wrote a book about that. I call it $1 Billion Communication Skills. It's not so much how to become a billionaire. Along the way, that may be possible, but that's not what the book is about. It's about communication skills, and not communication skills only and interacting, speaking, but about writing. And in terms of relationships, all of those are critically important. So I wrote the book about it. That's my fifth one. The fourth one that I did is, as you already noticed, as you are very, very healthy and fit, and I can see that, and so do other people. So am I. And so it took me a while to get there in that mid-80s. So I wrote a book about it, Living Young, Dying Old, How to Thrive in Your Mid-80s. And I wrote this book about that. And that's a picture of me, actually. I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And so what became important to me is diet. And my wife is a vegetarian, and I didn't always listen as well as I could have, should have. But along the way, I did become more and more vegetarian. I'm probably 80-20 now. And then the other one is physical fitness is critically important. Mental fit and diet. So, I'm very careful about that. I'm still right now training for, again, competing. I became, in Northern BC, I became bodybuilding and physique, second in bodybuilding, third in physique, qualified me provincially, and the same nationally in the Arnolds. Now, again, I'm training for the Arnolds when I'm 86. And so all of that part, first and foremost, is about health and fitness. And so those things are important to me. And then, so that's kind of what I did. And then with you, now, these books is always what is important on these books. I wrote them, and then I look at the title is critically important. Again, the fonts are important. And this one, very, very successful. It became a bestseller. It was released in July 31st, bestseller on Amazon, and a number of the other ones. And then the same with this one. The title is important, and then distribution and all the other things. And that gets me to the point to say to you, Tina, you wrote a book that will be coming out. You have it nearly finished. Again, provocative in a way. How do you catch the attention of the buyer? Because what you want to see, the reason that I wrote this one, because if it is sitting on the shelf, I want them, meaning the public, to pick it up. And as they pick it up and they look at the back and look at the front, they must have it. And so you did the same. You wrote a book, and share with us, how did you get to that? And then at some point, after you tell us that, then we'll come to the title is critically important as well. So tell us, how did you get started on writing? Writing is not easy. And so what then prompted you? Have you thought about it for a long time? I did. In terms of, I was told, you have such an interesting life, should write a book about blah, 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 on and on and on and on. But it took me quite a while. Tell us about you.
Okay. Well, let me also just say that I think you're amazing, and what you've done is absolutely inspiring. And I actually lost 90 pounds myself through Ayurvedic medicine. So, and you're right, health, fitness, what you're eating is so important. I actually did not set out to become a writer. The idea came to me because I was so terrified of the idea of turning 50. I was about 46. And I have an older half sister and a younger brother. We're not close, but like they're 3.5 years difference. And they would be like, oh, I feel so old and this hurts and that hurts. I'm so old. And I'm like, what's going to happen when I turn 50? Like, I felt good. I've always tried to take care of myself. I've been doing yoga since 1990. I'm mainly vegetarian, but it's like, and I'm very health conscious. I'm like, what's going to happen to me when I turn 50? Like, because in America, it's like, oh, when you're over the hill, you're 50, you're washed up. And especially as a female, if you have gray hair, like, oh, you're not sexy anymore. And so for me, like, my hair was not gray at that point. My hair did go gray very quickly. But I was just like, what's going to happen when you turn 50? Like, oh my goodness. And the idea for the book came to me. Like, I don't consider myself a writer. The title came to me, and I was like, can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? Like, I don't know. And the idea for the book just would not leave me alone. It would not leave me alone.
You look great, Tina. You can see you're in good shape, and when people say to me, no, I don't believe you're 85, and but the part of it is that's mental, the way you portray yourself, you have energy, and all of those things. And what I say, and I say this in this book and other things that I do, age is just a number. And I believe fitness, mental, physically, and staying healthy and all those things. If I go, I do all the shopping for my wife and myself. It was a vegetarian. I go to the store. I always walk on the outside because the processed food in the aisles, if the letters are very small, I likely don't want them because we don't know what is in them. We try to stay very healthy, very fit. So that brings me back to your book. So just continue.
So actually, when I was after I'd moved to Mexico, I was in San Cristobal in 2021, and I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't feel like I'm a writer. I say any of this, and I wrote the book proposal. I actually did course to write the book proposal. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this, or I need to let the idea go and move on to something else. And that's kind of been this relationship I've had with this book. Like, a little like, oh, can I say this? Who wants to read it? And I had a hard time putting things about myself in it because I really wanted to inspire and empower women to change their lives. I didn't want it to be just about me. I wanted it to be focused on the reader, and that, like, if I can change my life, if I can get sober, if I can lose 90 pounds, I can like live on passive income for 5 years. I can live in another country without really speaking any other language. If I can do all these things, other people can too. Like, I am not that different or unique than anyone else. And I do feel like, I've been led to do all these things that was divinely inspired, because I would literally just sit down and write. Like, the ideas would come out, the story would come out. I did not consciously write the book. It just literally came out. So going back and editing has been really difficult. That's been the challenging part for me. But yeah, I know it was just like, and there are many times I've wanted to stop. Like, even last year was very difficult. I did have a publisher, and for the first year it was fine. It was okay. But last year it was a complete mess, and we just ended the relationship this year. Yeah, it was not good. Like, it was really not good. But like, my dog had been sick with cancer, so my dog died. My book contract ended. I gave up my apartment, and I came down to Colombia. So even this year, it's been kind of chaotic. But I'm like, the book is coming out. It's got to come out. Like, we're doing this.
Before you mention the title, we talk about that too. Yeah. But I'm saying is the most important is this. All my books that I have, this one, Against All Odds, title. I say, if you're going to pick it up, you want to read it. Then the other one, amazingly, I'm ADHD and have dyslexia. I wrote a book about that. Title. It's a superpower. And then the other one, so many people don't like what they are doing. I say, finding your passion, living the dream. And I worked for 70 years. And are you living the dream, John? Every day to me is important. I get up at 5:30. I always make my bed. I always think I'm late. And I love every single day. And then this other one, that's me. I go to the gym. I'm doing all that title, 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 title. You will pick it up. You want to read it. And this one here, a bestseller on Amazon, that people will become million copy sellers. No question. It's not about money for me. It's sending the message that you can too. And I did it, so, and that's why that is so important. So it brings me back to your book. So then you had to decide on the title and saying, so there we are sitting, you and me, Tina, and saying, so Tina, I like what you're doing. What is going to be the title? How do we get a title that will make people pick them up?
Well, actually, the title came to me. The title came to me years before I started doing the book proposal. And I was like, oh, can I say that? Are we allowed to say that? Like, who am I to say that? Like, I was like, the title is pure gold. Like, it really, really is. And that's why I'm like, I have to do this book. Because not only do I want women to be inspired and empowered by turning 50, it's 50 is like the beginning of life. It's not the end. I mean, you're proof of that. You're in your 80s and you look amazing and you're doing amazing things. So like 50 is really just the beginning. And
exactly.
So I was just like, oh my goodness. So I was like, am I allowed to say those? Because it does get people's attention. And people are either going to love the title or hate the title. But everybody typically has the same reaction when they hear the title. And it's like, And
so it's your turn. Give us the title.
Okay. The title of the book is 50 Fabulous and Fuckable.
That's the title. And
the title.
So the book is ready now. If you got so where is the stage of the book now? So when will it?
We are putting final touches on the book right now. I am self-publishing, and I'm doing a pre-launch party on September 23rd here in Medellin, Colombia.
Okay.
So people can actually go on to my site right now and actually buy the pre-sale copy. And by doing that, they will get like special things. I'll be dropping like parts of the chapter. I'm looking for advanced reader people to look at the book and to give some feedback. So they can actually, by buying the copy now on pre-sale, they can actually have insight to the book. They can actually have some input in the book and give feedback as to what they like, don't like, the theme of the book. It will actually be going full blown on December 30th. So we're building up the anticipation, the wait, the excitement for it. So it's pretty incredible.
And the exciting part about this, Tina Coleman, it is On the Brink with John A. Brink. That was the first one to introduce you, the first one to podcast you. And I would hope that you mention to my viewers from around the world and the people that subscribe to me and my podcast that they will special consideration on the pre-copy of your book to get the initial part that you refer to and say, how do they contact it? How do they get an advanced copy of it in some form or fashion that you just mentioned?
Well, I have a link in my bio. It's through Beacons and PayHip. But if you go on my TikTok channel, it's Transform, Be Courageous. There's also a link through that. I'm pretty active on TikTok, and it's kind of turned into an I Love Colombia page because I am in Colombia right now. But yeah, so they can actually go to Transform, Be Courageous on TikTok or Instagram and click the link for the pre-sale copy of the book.
I love it, Tina. And then before we go, all the people that are watching us, we do podcasts from topics from one extreme to the other, from around the world. This podcast will be released in 2 hours as it was presented, including the title of the book as well. And that if people like what we are doing, subscribe to our podcast, like it, share it with others, make comments if you wish. And for Tina Coleman, realize, again, we're going to make sure we put your contact point on this presentations as well. Tina, it was a privilege to have you on my podcast. We'll be watching you, and as you go forward, make sure you stay in touch with Scott to see what happens next. And again, as I said, it was a privilege, and Amazing what you've done in your life. And then obviously the book, again, is that you must have a title that people will pick it up, but not only pick it up, that the content of it will be your life, your experience that inspires those that are in their middle ages, male, female, or whatever, that their age is just a number, and that there is no reason that we cannot be as active, if not more so now, and that's been my experience. I've been more active since I was 75 than I was all the years before that. And so, again, your book will be an inspiration for that as well. Tina, it was a privilege, and I like your discussion. I like the book that you're going to put out there. We'll be watching you. Stay in touch with Scott. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. It was such a privilege and an honor to be on your podcast and for it to be the first one. So thank you so much. You're an inspiration.
Thanks, Tina. Take care.
You're welcome.